What's going on, everyone? This is Jonathan with Cinco Squad. We're back here for another week with my bros, Trey Day, Grandpa Jay, and Mike A. Of course. How you guys doing today?
Doing good, man. I'm home for a show.
Yes, sir. You're not in an office.
No, sir.
Hey, not stuck in the office. Jamie is a happy Jamie.
That's correct.
No, it's going well. It's going well right now. We're in the middle of playoffs, and it's exciting.
Playoffs?
I just hope we can win a game.
Trey Day, how's your day going?
Just living the dream, man. You know, spend another day, get another good show in. Doing sports as usual.
Of course.
Speaking of playoffs, I did some research and I was not able to confirm whether this may have the Celtics spoil it, but may have been the first time where there would have been clean sweeps in conference finals in both hockey and basketball in the same year. I don't think that's ever happened.
I don't think it's ever happened. Ever.
Yeah. It's never happened in basketball, so I'm pretty sure.
In hockey, it's just crazy.
It's never happened in basketball.
Like, it was funny. I was talking to Malin's uncle about that last night because we were watching the game together at the house, and he was basically like, "So how's the hockey going?" I'm like, "They're in like 3-0 right now." Yeah. And he's like, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "That's nuts. When's the last time that happened?" I was like, "I don't think it ever has." So that's a good point.
Right? Like if the Heat had won, we're looking at a whole week without basketball. So
yeah, that's the thing. That's what we were talking about earlier this week, Trey and I, about how there's such a big gap in between, but the NHL schedule is not really set because they're flexing it. So like it's going to be a 3-day break between the final game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They have it tentatively next Saturday. Not this Saturday, next Saturday, June 3rd. So it's like you have,
just to account for the possible games.
Yeah.
Yeah, game 7 would be Wednesday. So,
right.
But, yeah, bros, we got a lot of good. I mean, my Heat, I'm still a little nervous, Jay. I know that you said don't be nervous, but I am nervous. So I'm not happy until I see another one of these hats.
Don't be nervous.
Worn. So,
not with Mikey Butler at the helm.
Mikey, Mike.
Yes.
What is in your cup today?
Mike, can you give us a hint? What is
it? I see what you did there. I see what you did, and I like
that. That was pure.
If I'd.
All right, Trey, you're
trying to say, Trey, you going?
I have a red Solo cup. I don't think
you're going college style.
Yeah, I don't think I already have
Rewind.
Well, I don't have a red Solo cup, but I do have a cup this week. And it is filled with this, which is a concoction made primarily of A&W cream soda, but with a shooter of dough ball cookie dough whiskey.
What in the hell? That is the biggest injustice to whiskey
cookie dough whiskey
in my life. Going cookie dough and whiskey.
My wife has peanut butter whiskey in the
peanut butter whiskey ain't bad.
I also got a peanut butter whiskey shooter along with it. So that may be so spoilers for next week.
Survey says, Mikey,
it's good. It's very good.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good. Very sweet. Again, another one of the many things I've had on this show where I will say, if you don't like sweet drinks, probably don't drink.
If your tooth ain't sweet, then you ain't part of Mikey's crew.
I realized that on my best part of the weekend when he had that big ass margarita that was full of sugar and alcohol, and he was just like, "Ooh, this is good." I'm like, "Nope,
loving life."
Good.
So, 48 ounces was it? Was it 48 ounces? I think
quite a bit.
Yeah, it was more than that. It was like almost a gallon. It was big. Grandpa Jay, how'd your bets do this week?
How my who do this week?
Your bets.
Oh, last week? Not so good.
Yeah, last week. I meant.
Last week, if there's such thing as a push, it would have been a push because there were a couple of draws. So Leicester did draw, and so did Liverpool, unfortunately. So Liverpool now needs a lot of help to get to the Champions League. I think the Lakers kind of threw game 3 away there. So I thought that one would have been the one that would have won. We knew that game could have been in the bag. Such is, they're no longer in the playoffs. Yeah. That kind of nature of the game, right? So, unfortunately, 1-4 with 2 draws as opposed to wins that I called. And we're going to do better this week, though. This week is going to be a better week. And here's why this week's going to be a better week, ladies and gentlemen. Because the Heatles, like some people like to call them, have bounced back from every loss this year, whether it's at home or on the road. They have followed up with the W. And they're giving me 7.5 points this week. Come on, Vegas. Thank you for the gift. So I'm taking the Heat at 7.5 tomorrow night. in Boston, because whether they lose the game or not, they ain't losing the game by more than 8 points. It'll be an extremely close game. I'm calling overtime, actually. And just like in the Milwaukee series, I think the Heat win in overtime to close the series out.
Agreed.
And then the comeback kings of hockey right now, the Vegas Knights, will come back, and there'll be more woes. And, Dallas. Did another Dallas team just lose in the playoffs? Yes, the Stars go out tomorrow night in Dallas. Vegas sweeps. So you got Vegas sweeping that series. Then we take it across the pond where Leeds is playing Tottenham. It's the last weekend of the Prem, and everything on the line now. So Tottenham has nothing left to play for, and Leeds has everything to play for. If Leeds do not win, they're relegated. Normally in this match, you see a lot of goals being scored. I'm going to have Leeds playing an inspired match at home to hopefully save their chances. If Leicester wins, they probably still go out. They do need some help as well, but they're going to fight. And I got my boy Zach Eflin on the mount tomorrow night. Spent most of his career in Philly. Ever since he's come down to the Trop in Tampa, he started off the best he's ever had in his career. Got off to the best start in his career. 6-1, pitching great. He had a gem against the Yankees last time. Rays just don't know what the hell happened last night. 50 games into the season, the game 20-1. All of a sudden, we don't have the best run differential in baseball because we have positional players give up 11 runs in 2 innings. It's like, why would you even do that? Anyway, so we got Shane right the ship, and we have Eflin, and we haven't lost the home series yet other than Houston this year. So take the Rays over the Jays. And then here's where I might need the help of our viewers. The big match in England is Man United and Chelsea. And Liverpool is going to be cheering for Chelsea because if Chelsea beats Man United, then Man United is going to have to win their last game to hold off Liverpool if Liverpool wins to get into that Champions League 4 spot. I think Chelsea wants to play spoiler. At first, when I thought about this, I'm like, you know what? I should pick Man U because they're going to make sure they win this game. But Chelsea hates them. I mean, when I tell you it would satisfy Chelsea and their fans, no more than anything else to beat Man U and possibly have their season in that hold that they have to win their last game or get a result and hope that Liverpool lose because Liverpool has a better goal differential than them.
Right.
So here's the recap on it.
Okay.
Take the Heat at 7.5. Take Vegas on the road. Take Leeds over Tottenham because Tottenham have nothing left to play for and Leeds are playing for their life to stay alive in the Prem. Rays over Jays because we're going to win this home series. The Jays haven't been playing well other than that fluke last night. And the one you guys might go Man U, but I'm going with the Chelsea. The Chelsea to play spoiler here. And that's my bets of the week, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to bounce back. We're going to have a better week. Come on. Let's go Rays.
All right, Jamie, thanks for easing my tension there because I know that we're going to talk about teams here that didn't make the playoff run that the Heat are making right now. Now we're going to talk about the biggest team to disappoint in the playoffs and not make the NBA Finals. This is a very interesting topic, and it's the biggest team in the playoffs to disappoint. So not in the regular season or anything like that. Mikey Mike, what is your team that is the biggest disappointment?
So I went through a few teams in my research that I recalled like were definitely disappointing in what they were supposed to do versus what they ended up doing. The one I ended up landing on was the 2018-2019 Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
So they disappointed slightly in the regular season, but still ended up with a 49-33 record. I believe that was good for the 3 seed in the East. But going into the playoffs, there was still a lot of hype about them. I mean, they had the hype the whole year, despite the struggles, and went in with a roster of the following, which is what really stood out to me. Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, and Scary Terry Rozier.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst roster I've ever heard. I'm sure.
The fact that, like, that's the thing. On paper, that's like at least 5 All-Stars, and some of the best bench players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They swept Indiana, so the hype built up, and then they got absolutely smoked by Milwaukee in 5.
Demolished.
They won game 1, and then got blown out in in the next 4 games. So that's what disappointed me. It's just going into the playoffs with, on paper, one of the best rosters you had seen in recent memory, and absolutely laying an egg to, yes, a 1-seed Milwaukee team, but still a Milwaukee team that, again, on paper, they weren't, like, Boston should have been way better than.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's
a great one. I didn't even think of that.
That was Giannis's coming out party in those playoffs to make it to the finals. Yep.
Yeah. So, Jamie, I'm interested to hear yours because I think I know what it is.
I don't like reliving this moment in my life. I was a ginormous Seattle Supersonics basketball.
I knew you were going to say this.
I had the Sean Kemp jersey. I had the hats. I had the Seattle West Coast swag. Nobody around me was talking Supersonics basketball. Everybody was like, "Oh, they know a name or two." I knew the whole team. I would love life when they finally had a Seattle game and they started showing more Seattle games, because that team went 63-19 that year. It's the 93-94 season. By far, they dominated the league. In fact, their home record that year was 38-3, 3 losses at home. And this is when they had 5 games in the first round. And Denver snuck in there as the 8th seed, started playing good basketball at the end of the year. And I'm like, man, we got Denver. We got them. They demolished them in the first 2 games. We go back to Denver. Denver goes on a run in the 4th, and then we lose game 4 in overtime. And I'm thinking, okay, this can't happen. They've only lost 3 home games. There's no way. Somehow they're up 8. Denver comes back in game 5, forces an overtime. Denver wins game 5, 98-94. And you'll never forget the moment with Dikembe Mutombo holding the basketball. It's the worst nightmare of my life as a kid on half court, and he's crying and he's putting the ball up there. So I can't believe it.
No.
That's a very good Mutombo.
Hated it. But here's what I loved about it is that at the time the Nuggets had formerly known as Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. They had LaFonso Ellis. They also had Reggie Williams at the time, who was just an absolute, just lights out shooter. But my main guy who I really liked was Dan Issel, the head coach, because he was a Kentucky guy. And he played his whole career in Denver. He was a scoring champ in Denver at one point. I think he had set the NBA single season record at the time for most, I think it was most points made in Denver franchise history or something like that. And the guy was just a phenomenal player. But it was a cool story to know a lifer with Denver was the first coach to take his team he played for as an 8 seed to beat a 1 seed. And it was my boys. And that team was the team. I mean, people thought they were going to run through the NBA that year. Unfortunately, what ended up happening was, I think that was the Michael Jordan year off, and the Rockets played the Knicks in the 93-94 finals. Yep. And so that was theirs. And it wasn't a fluke either, because they ended up taking the Jazz to 7 games as well. So they almost beat the Jazz as well and made a run like the Heat to make it to the conference finals. But super disappointing. Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, Kendall Gill, Nate McMillan, Sam Perkins, Detlef Schrempf. Say it with me, Mikey.
Detlef Schrempf.
That's right. We got to get Mikey a jersey.
And Ricky Pierce, who was like 6th man of the year. I was one sad kid that day, man. I was a sad kid. And I got made fun of in school a lot. So it wasn't a good week for me at all.
Trust me, it's not worse than the whole 03 3-0 deficit that Mike and I faced in 04.
Yeah.
So I don't want to relive that. That didn't happen. See, what happened? This doesn't happen.
So, Trey, you want to go or me?
I want to have Trey.
Okay, so different angle here. I swear, I do truly believe this team would have won the NBA Finals, but some crazy stuff happened. And when I talk about that crazy stuff, I'm talking about the 04-05 Pacers. That team would have won the NBA Finals, but some idiot threw beer at Ron Artest, and before we know it, we got a big brawl in the crowd, and the Pacers' whole season gets derailed. But people have to remember, in that game, they were playing the Pistons. They had just took the Pistons, who went to the finals the year before, to 6 games, and it was a hard-fought 6 games. That's that series of Tayshaun Prince gets the crazy block on Reggie Miller and all that. Pacers come back hungry that year. Now, remember, that night they're playing the Pistons. It's November. It's early. They walk into Detroit, and they beat them by 15. Ben Wallace is losing his mind. Everybody's losing their mind because now the Pacers are hot. We're talking about Stack Jack on the wing. We're talking about Reggie Miller on his last legs. We're talking about Ron Artest perennial all defensive players. They're locking up on the wings. We're talking about prime Jermaine O'Neal in the middle. We still got Dale Davis. We still got toughness. Austin Crozier is one of the earlier stretch forwards. That team was stacked. I thought that team would have won the finals. I truly do believe that because they had the Pistons number at that point, almost being the year before. What people forget is Artest couldn't play the rest of the year. The Pacers still went to the second round and still took the Pistons 6 games and almost put the Pistons out again before the Pistons ended up going out to play the Spurs in the championship. So as far as I'm concerned, if you don't derail that, you still get Ron Artest, you still those guys, they win the NBA Finals because, in my opinion, that is the best team in NBA Pacers history. I know they went to the NBA Finals once and lost to the Lakers, but that is the best team the NBA Pacers have ever had in the history of that franchise.
Didn't Jermaine O'Neal always get a 30? He got a 32-game ban too, didn't he?
He had 30 plus. Stack Jack got a long suspension. Even Reggie Miller, who wasn't even dressed that night, got suspended because he got off the bench to try to help break it up. So that derailed everything. So
what was more sad is that was his final year, and everybody felt like he's finally going to get his ring. That was the real bittersweet part. Where it's like, come on, how could that cheat Reggie? And it all started because Ben Wallace.
What year was that?
That was the 04-05 year.
Yeah, that's
05-04. Yeah. So that's for me. I just think that derailed it. But I want to hear what John has to say. I'm fascinated by his team.
Yeah.
So I think we all remember this team. It was the 2014 and 2015 Los Angeles Clippers who went up 3-1 against the Houston Rockets, where Chris Paul ended up going here, I think, the year after, a few years later. Ended up losing 3 in a row by 124 to 103. They were ass kickings. The score doesn't show, but they were ass kickings. And that team was 56-26, finished second in the Pacific Division, and second in the West. Just a great overall team, and their scoring was number 1 in the league or number 2 in the league. Scoring rating was very high that year, and we all thought, okay, this is the year Chris Paul is definitely in. The team was rolling, right? So statistics aside, the team was rolling that year. And we all thought, okay, they're catching fire in the playoffs. That I think they mowed through. Oh no, wait, they went 7 with San Antonio, knocked off San Antonio, who I think just came off a championship against the Heat. And that was I think it was Kawhi, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu team. They knocked them off in 7. We thought, okay, they're gonna take it to the chip. End up losing 3 in a row, and that's where the curse of Chris Paul continues.
Bro, that was Lob City, bro. That was Lob City.
Prime Lob City.
They were the most entertaining team by far. Everybody wanted to see Lob City play. They were so fun to watch.
Blake Griffin could dunk then.
But that's what I'm saying. They caught fire. If you remember the last month of the season, they caught fire, and they were they looked like the best team in the league. And when they went up 3-1 on Houston, I was like, oh, they're going to the NBA Finals. And then I was like, oh shit, they gave up a 3-1 lead, 3 in a row, done. So,
and that's the year OKC ended up going, right? Was it OKC Miami or that was the first Golden State?
No, OKC was 12-13.
So that was the first Golden State chip where they beat Cleveland.
No, that's the end of LeBron in Miami.
So it was Miami Spurs because he played the Spurs last.
The Miami Spurs
was the last 2 years. But that's the Spurs.
It was the year before. 13-14 was the Spurs versus the Heat, and then 14-15, I can't remember who the champion. I think it was the Heat
again. Spurs put the Heat out that time.
No, that was Golden State.
Golden State over Cleveland.
Golden State Cleveland.
14-15.
Yeah.
Because remember, I just said the Clippers beat the Spurs in the first round.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, that
was the first Golden State Cleveland. Yeah.
That's when Atlanta made the run, but then got swept out by LeBron and Cleveland.
Yeah, you're right.
Because both teams hit over 23s in one game in that series, and then Cleveland came back the following game and hit 24 threes and set the record, and then it was crazy that year. Threes were raining that year.
So my question to you guys is, what is it about? So is regular season overrated? And what I mean by that is that we talk about it all the time, that there's a lot of parity in all these sports, right? Mm-hmm. Is it just get in? If you have the talent on the team, like the Lakers and the Heat, is it just type of get in type of thing where once you get in, it's 0-0? So how do you lock in that mentality? And what do you guys think? You know, do you think the regular season is kind of overrated, and should we scale it back a little bit in the amount of games? I mean,
So for me, I would scale the season back, especially if you're going to have all this load management stuff. Like just less games, just play less games in the regular season. But I still wouldn't call it overrated, simply because for that, yes, it is 0-0 when you hit the playoffs if you get in.
all right.
But the regular season, from a perspective of a team, right? If I'm on a team or coaching or GM or whatever of a team, the regular season allows me to prepare to either hold off the upset or complete the upset by playing that team and understanding how to play them. So I think the regular season doesn't have as much value a lot of the time, especially with such a long schedule, like the 82 game schedule of who really is the best team.
Right.
But it is, from a team perspective, I think it does have its value in making sure you are the best team you can be.
Yeah, because the farther you get away from that Cleveland Warriors stretch, the more we're seeing teams like start to turn it up in the playoffs, and I think that's making it more exciting. And I mean, obviously the sweep isn't what we like to see, but if it's competitive games, competitive games. Jamie, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I have a better proposal, because a lot of people think that Golden State played their way to the 6th seed, meaning that they knew they would get the Kings and that'd be a better matchup than the Suns, right? So it's almost like teams can strategize towards the end of the day. If you have a locked-in seed, they're like, hey, it's okay if we drop a couple games. We think the path at 6 instead of 4, because that means they would have avoided Denver as well in the second round, is a better path for us. I think it would be a lot of fun to do a lottery style. The first 4 teams are locked, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, it's at random. So you pick out, like the ping pong balls decide who 5 is, who 6 is, who 7, and who 8 is. Because then you can't get your seed.
I have a different proposal.
Yeah.
No, I have a different proposal, similar to what Jamie said. But what I would actually have done, if you want to make value to the regular season, is the top 4 seeds, they get their seed. The number 1 team then gets to pick which one of the teams from the bottom 4 they get to play. And I get to call my shot.
And then the 2 and then the 3.
So now I truly get to call my shot based on who I just saw that I thought I could beat, which gives you more incentive to get up and play and get to the team you want. Yeah. But does the regular season, I guess, have more value? I think, to answer that question, I think it does for teams who have not been together, have less continuity. So, for example, Denver, actually the best thing that Denver has going for them is they were the same team last year, added a few key pieces, but they were the same guys. One of the biggest things the Suns had against them is they didn't play together last year or even barely this year. Right. If you notice, even when the Bucks finally got over the hump, that team with Middleton, Giannis, and they had been together for a couple of years. So if you notice, the teams that are going, when the Warriors won, they were constantly together. It's the teams that have been together for a couple of years and went through the playoff tested battles. But I think the regular season is good for a team who maybe has never been together and learning through that. But once you I feel like once you figure it out and you get kind of your main pieces and you've been together for a minute, I don't know if the regular season means as much to those teams.
Yeah, it's kind of like, let me get there.
Toronto is the only anomaly with randomly throw a team together, and Kawhi had a magic playoff.
Well, you look at the Heat. Look at the Heat. Like when they first put their big 3 together, they lost the first finals they played in.
Yes.
And then won.
Dallas,
and then they knew how to run.
Right.
After that, they ran it.
And they beat OKC.
Right.
But that makes sense a lot of times. Like, and when we went to the finals against Dallas, I knew, if you remember, we beat Dallas in the 06 finals.
Mm-hmm.
So Dirk was,
payback,
looking for revengeance. He won. It was one of his final years in the league. So he was looking for a revenge. So yeah, I mean, when you have a team that's been together, and that Mavericks team was just, I mean, they had a great team. And then Dirk was averaging almost double.
When you talk about a player being the best player in a given year, Dirk was the best basketball player in the world.
100%. He was hitting everything. It felt like the basket was the size of the ocean. He was just shooting. I was just like, some of the shots he was making. Yeah. And like, I remember Chris Bosh was like, there's nothing I can do. I'm in his face. My hand is like here, and I can't. He's just knocking it down. So, it's a hats off type moment. It's kind of like when Jokic made that shot again over AD, and AD was just laughing like, what do you want me to do?
We know what the real problem was. They needed Mario Thomas to defend him, but they didn't give him the trust. They didn't give him the assignment, not Mario Thomas.
That's why the Heat lost Game 4. Mario Chalmers. That's right.
Mario Chalmers shouldn't have arms to shoot a basketball in the fourth quarter.
For real. I agree with that.
No, in all seriousness, yes.
Well, as we talk about players and expansion and everything like that, moving on to the NFL, came out with some news this week, as in May 24th, the end of May, Memorial Day weekend, 2023, that they're going to allow teams to carry an extra quarterback in the playoffs, I believe it is, or is it just regular season and playoffs? But it doesn't hurt a roster spot. So it sparked an interest that I thought was, key. Every other team and every other, league expands their roster just a little bit for the playoffs and in regular season. Should the NFL expand the roster?
Yeah, NFL should expand their roster. I don't see why not. Okay, we're expanding the season. We got you playing more games, but yet we still have the same amount of players out there. There's more injury risk. Why would we not expand the roster? To me, to leave it at 53 men, that's crazy. On top of that, you got to look at it like this. We burning 2 spots already, really 4. We got a quarterback. He can't go out here and play running back. We got another quarterback. He ain't coming out here to play receiver. We got a kicker. All he going to do is sit on the bench. We got this punter who ain't going to play. So we already burned down. And not to mention, we got a long snapper. The long snapper probably doesn't play any other position. So we've already burnt like 5 spots of guys who can't play. At a certain point, what am I going to do? Like force my quarterback to learn how to play running back or something? If we want the best quality product, y'all going to keep expanding the game. On top of that, now we're going to do more flexing with Thursday night. We're adding Friday night games. We're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day of the week. We're playing football. If y'all got these guys playing back-to-back, put more guys on the roster. How does it hurt to have more talent and more guys in practice to make a better product? Give us the best product possible. Stop being cheap asses and let them expand a couple extra spots. It ain't going to cost you that much. As much money as Amazon's paying you, as much money as Fox is paying you, for God's sake, we're paying Troy Aikman $2 billion to go out here and cost 17 games. The least we can do is put an extra 5 or 6 roster spots out there. But, I mean, that's just my thought. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, so I completely agree, especially I agree with all the points you made. Plus, listen, if the first new roster spot we're gonna give is quarterback, almost the least behind kickers, physical position on the entire field, the one that is designed to get hit the least aside from kickers, then why aren't we giving extra roster spots for the physical, like in the trenches and these guys that are actually getting hit every play or getting bumped every play. So yeah, absolutely. If you're going to add more games, if this is really about player safety, let's make it about all player safety and give extra spots to positions that need it.
Especially because you keep expanding the league, right? I feel like at one point or another, when we get maybe 10 years down the road, it'll be a 20-game season. I fully see it. I fully see it because money talks. I mean, I know Jamie, you shake your head on it, but it's just money talks. They'll want it, and someone will propose it.
It took them a long time to go from 14 to 16. It took them a long time to go from 16 to 17. I don't see it going to 20.
They may be adding 2 teams.
Don't forget, we expanded the playoffs too. We keep expanding.
I know that. But here's my take with your points, and I love what you guys said. I just think it was a knee-jerk reaction by the NFL just because of what happened in the Philly-San Fran game. So instead of really thinking through it, like you said, Trey, and you said, Mike, is this more about ensuring the fact, because it's really about the integrity of the product. And the product was weakened in one of the biggest nationally televised games that everybody looked forward to, which was the underdog San Fran quarterback against who many people deemed the best player in football, or one of the best players in football, and the magical run the Eagles had made that year, because they would have been a perfect team if Hurts didn't get hurt, I think, or at least had one loss. So you have this matchup everybody looks forward to, and then the product was just totally tainted because Brock Purdy literally couldn't throw a ball 5 yards. So game script was predictable. The Eagles ate him alive. I mean, you can't go up against the best rushing team in football and you can't throw the ball all of a sudden. Right. So the NFL was like, knee-jerk reaction. We can't have this happen again. So let's just make sure there's this emergency quarterback. No, take some time to think. It's not just about making sure you have an extra quarterback. Just like you guys said, Make sure there's more guys in the trenches that can get him because you're having linemen blow their knee out a lot more than you have quarterbacks getting hurt in these big games. Make sure there's somebody that's a skilled position that could be replaced. So instead of going to that one knee-jerk reaction, they should have said, you know what? We'll think about the 4 main positions on a team, and let's just take it from 46 to 50 right away. Let's not do this emergency thing that doesn't count as a spot, but it's there as backup. That's stupid. They should have said, let's add 4 spots. It'd be a lineman, it'd be a defensive lineman, it'd be a quarterback, and then wild card. The team chooses who they want that position to be. And then now you have just 4 additional players, and now you're almost guaranteeing the integrity of the product because it's not weakened where the team's lost that whatever position that's integral for their success or integral for the quality of the product to remain as is high level, which everybody wants to see, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, if I had to make a change, right, it'd be the playoffs, right? You expand the rosters for the playoffs. You do it in every other sport. Why not in football? Because you come to look at it, football is the biggest sport in America. At the end of the day, that's just the truth of it all. People get all upset and up in arms. They have a whole day about the schedule being released, for God's sakes. They have a whole countdown on ESPN about it. Like, come on now. The playoffs is where exactly what you said, Jay, is where you see – the best product on the field, and you expanded it, right? So why not add 4 or 5 more spots? Why not take it from 53 to 57 or 60, right? Why not add a few more spots? Because that's when guys are going a little bit harder, pushing it a little bit further, and getting on and getting hurt the most, right? That's where we see a lot of more injuries. That's where you see guys, I read a quote from Jerome Bettis, and I think Trey sent it to me and told me that when he played a football game, it'd take him 2 days to get out of bed.
Wow.
A lot of these guys feel like when they get done with a football game that it's worse than getting hit by a car or getting into a car accident.
That's all bruising type. I mean, the Steelers played
even today with the faster pace, everything. They feel like even Devontae Smith said it last year. He goes, I'm hurting for a couple of days after. I'm not ready until Tuesday night, Wednesday. So when you look at it, it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, if these players feel like that right now in 2023 with everything we have, and who we're gonna have on here later talking about performance trading and Chris, that's just the biggest thing, right? So we got to expand the rosters in order to have a good quality product out there, and so teams don't get ultimately crippled to the point where if they're having a great season, like the Niners were lucky. Right? But if they had an extra couple roster spots, they could have probably added a few more pieces, right? Added probably another, few pieces to help out Brock Purdy. Their offensive line was weak last year, and that's what kind of ended up having
and even check out the details of the details of this is that your first and second string have to be injured. And correct. As long as one of them gets declared that they can play again, it disqualifies that player immediately.
Right. Which is dumb.
It's such a dumb knee-jerk reaction. It just doesn't make sense that it was knee-jerk. It was not well thought out.
But the NFL, they do knee-jerk. If you look, and they do this every year. Remember the play was the Marcus Peters hits the receiver, and then they don't call the flag. Next thing I know, next year we got but the pass interference can be challenged call. Then they had the overtime rule got switched because of the Bills Chiefs game. So every year something comes out of the playoffs, the Brady Tuck rule. We have right to go all the way back there. Every year there's always something that comes out where the fans go crazy. NFL just some type of knee jerk reaction. That's what the NFL.
And then they figure it out.
Yeah.
And then they figure it out after they see what their knee-jerk reaction looked like.
But you would think 20 years later after the Brady Tucker was like, why do we keep reacting this way? At some point, you got to wise up.
And you review. If they want to change something, cut the freaking reviews down. Everything's reviewed. Everything. It's so goddamn annoying, man. It's like, oh, he catches it out of bounds. Review. How about you just get it right? How about you just get it right on the
field, pay attention,
and then that's it. What are you looking at? I don't even the refs are not doing themselves justice. I want to know the percentage, and I know Mikey will come next week and tell me the percentage of our statistician guy down there. Will tell us the percentage how many times they overturned a call this year or over the past 10 years with implementing that rule, like the review. That's your homework, Mike.
I got I got you. Don't worry.
Quit your job. No work this week. Just that.
Well,
but I would love to see that because the refs are like. It goes back to baseball. Like baseball, these officials are doing themselves non-justice on this because eventually we're gonna go to just robots. Everything's gonna be in a camera at this point.
Robo-homes are coming.
You know, so it's like they're not doing themselves any favors by this. And and the other play is that Trey and I talk about all the time is this is going at full speed, right? Like, so imagine imagine watching the game yourself and you're not picking up on things. Imagine being down there in the field, like watching these like big 6'5", 6'6" guys running all around at 4.4 speeds. How are you supposed to pick that up? So I think that's an interesting way to kind of go about it. But yeah, I think a knee-jerk reaction is a great way to put it, Jay.
I got to start for you, John, and this is from 2 years ago, and they average it out early on because remember instant replay has been around for over 10 years now, right? So from 2011 to 2016, NFL games had an average of 1.6 replay reviews per game, with 41% of them resulting in an on-field call being overturned. And then when I scroll up on a table, the percentage seems like it went up because in 2021, out of 272 games played, 158 plays were reversed in those games.
Wow!
Right, so that takes it up significantly, way past the 40s, and that's much more than 40%. So
I like give the red. Yeah. I give the
Super Bowl is a delayed game anyway, right? We know there's a bunch of delays in the game, so just keep it for the Super Bowl because you don't want the Super Bowl to be won because of a really bad call. Like, just reserve it for the Super Bowl because they're like, you know what? These are the two best teams that worked their ass off to be here. Maybe we just say for this game in particular, we're going to need a review. It's prolonged no matter what. We had freaking a whole damn concert at halftime. So everybody's tuned in anyway. I think people would be okay with it if it was just held for the Super Bowl itself.
Yeah, and it was a good game too, right? That plays a huge factor, right? If it's a blowout, then it doesn't really matter. But if it's a good game where, a pass interference is called on someone that shouldn't have been,
So does that mean maybe you have to be within 7 points to use it? Like, should there be that rule on it?
I mean, they already get 2 challenges a game, and then and then if they win it, they get another challenge. Like if they go on their last challenge, they get to keep their. I think that's the rule, right? In the second half, like if you win your last challenge, you get another challenge.
You can keep challenging until you get it wrong. At that point,
yeah. So I feel it's like it's a little ridiculous, and I feel like the NFL does this all the time. Just like how the Eagles, now can't do with their running game. I still think they're gonna, do it in some sort of way. But it's like they were like, "Oh, you're doing." I remember the interview with Nick Sirianni. He was like, "Oh, you guys are doing something." He's like, "It's not illegal." So they make it illegal, and now it's illegal.
Mikey, I challenge you to a drink duel next week. Do you take the
hint?
The hint.
All right, guys. Now that we're talking about changes, we're going to talk about someone who makes a change in basketball players' lives every single day. Talking about Chris Palmer of Pure Performance Basketball. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm doing good, guys. How are y'all?
What's up, Chris?
How we doing, Chris?
You on the big screen. How's it going tonight, man?
There we go.
Doing pretty good.
Awesome.
How about y'all?
Not too bad. Just, living the dream, hoping my Heat take the Game 5 and let my nerves down a little bit.
I think they will. If not, they'll get them in 6. They'll get them back in Miami.
Yeah, hopefully. I was trying to go to the game, but it was like
John is scared right now. All he could this morning, he just got that nervous text. All of a sudden, Miami's dominating the series. He's like, "Here comes Jason Tatum." Jason Tatum plays like Jordan 2.0 in elimination games, so I know he's worried.
He does.
Yeah.
So, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And I know that for all of our viewers, Chris is a MBA, WNBA, and youth player development and consulting service, and he educates players, coaches, and trainers all around the world. So, tell us a little bit about like yourself, how you got into the training and consulting business and whatnot.
Yeah, so in short, like I played basketball my whole life. all through high school, and then I ended up playing at the Division II level at Emmanuel College. But really, I kind of knew since I was about 10 years old, specifically, I always wanted to be a college basketball coach. That was the main thing. Even back then, which was only 10, 15 years ago, I mean, training at the individual level wasn't as big as it is now. So I didn't even think about doing that. But then really when I was about a senior in high school, I started working with some kids at local gyms, charging like $10 an hour, and really started from the beginning. And then right after I got done playing, I kept that up. Through each summer, I kept gaining more and more clients, and then was able to build a couple guys up to the college level and beyond that. And then once I was done with college, with my undergrad was 2020, so the COVID year. I immediately went into, I already had Pure Performance, but I was ready to go into that full time in 2020.
Wow. Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I came across your page and you started following us, and we really appreciate all the support you've given us. And I see how did it come about to be that you're training WNBA and NBA players in that aspect? Is it just connections? Is it just what was that?
Really, a lot of it was word of mouth. I mean, honestly, starting training here, I was in Gwinnett County, Georgia. So obviously around Atlanta, we do have a lot of talent. So the first guy who kind of gave me a chance was CJ Foster. He played at Arkansas State, and then he played overseas in Spain. So I started working with him. I believe that was in 2017. And then from there on, it just kind of was a little bit of a trickle effect. And I was kind of lucky and got a shot to do a couple sessions with some guys for free. And then some good guys I was lucky enough for them to keep me on. And then from there, we've just continue to build for about the past 5 years or so. So a lot of the guys I work with, those are, if they're posted on the page, those are guys that are like full-time every week, like during the season, we're going through film, all of that stuff. So we really try to not post someone, because anyone can rebound for someone one time and then say they really worked with them and tried to develop them, but really player development is a long-term thing. So we really try to do our best to stay as connected with all of our guys and girls as much as we can throughout the year.
Hey Chris, enough respect to you. I'm a coach as well. I'm a swim coach, and I grew up as a deck rat. My dad was a coach, so I kind of had that same sort of long-term vision you had. I knew I was going to be on deck one day or coaching any sport, because I've been a junkie for a long time in sports. Did you have an influence like that from a young age, where there was somebody who, you said a college basketball coach is your dream? Was there a college basketball coach you're like, hey, I'd love to have that job? Or who was your big influence that kind of early on made you know this is what I want to do?
Yeah, honestly, it was a coach that I had. We called him Coach Frank. He started when I was 10 years old, and he kind of coached me all the way until I was 17 and getting done with high school, and either just skill work or with a team. So he was kind of a good example for me. And then my AAU coach, Coach Jay, was kind of the same way. They were really good examples. But then looking outside of guys that I knew from guys that I didn't know, I would say my favorite coach growing up was Coach K at Duke. And then going to his basketball camp one time. Did that trigger someone in here?
On the top right here.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I laughed. Said Dean Smith.
Okay, no, that's a great
Roy
coach
Williams.
too.
No,
that's basketball royalty, man. That's basketball royalty.
Yeah.
So,
you gotta have all the respect for K.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, I was like hooked on reading all of his books and all of these different coaches. So, but I would say primarily my high school coach and my AAU coach.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So now that you've kind of been in it, you said you really got going in 2020 full time with it, and now that you've been with, worked with a bunch of different players, different kinds of players. What would you say is like one misconception you find that players have on what it takes to get better?
Misconception. Yeah, I would say how it's not as complex as people try to make it out to be. Obviously, the age of the athlete really matters. Like, I mean, if you're working with middle schoolers, you got to go to a basic fundamental route and try to make sure that they have each area of their game straight. But then when it comes to guys that are, they have size, they're athletic, they got all the tools you need. I think at the end of the day, simplicity wins. So you got to find 2 to 3, sometimes even one area of their game that they need to be great at. And I think the biggest separator between a lot of the college athletes and a lot of the NBA players is a lot of guys are good at a lot of things at the college level, but they're not great at one thing. And I think that's a big separator from being good and being great.
Is that your goal? When you get players at that level, you want to try and help them identify what's your great?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the first thing. That's the first thing you got to know. Like, I mean, if you're coming out of college, obviously you're going to get different feedback, but you got to figure out what the area in your game is that you can hang your hat on at the next level, because it's so specific at the professional level. If you can shoot the ball and you can defend, that's going to be enough. If you're a rebounder, you better be a great rebounder. There's just not a lot of guys who are great at 3 or 4 different things. I mean, there's literally a handful of guys in the world that you can say are a great passer, great shooter, great rebounder, great defender. So it's just such a small margin there.
Yeah. So Chris, with you dealing with a little bit of pros, a little bit of college, I have a curious question. With load management, that's a big thing in the NBA. How do you, as a person who's helping train, feel about load management? Do you think it's something that actually helps, or do you think it's something where people are using as an excuse to not necessarily play the full season? Or how do you feel, as I said, about load management?
Yeah, that's a great topic. As far as training goes with clients, I'm a big believer in hard, efficient work. So when it comes to our workouts, I mean, at most, workouts typically won't go over an hour because, like, anytime we're not working on more than 2 things. So if we're working on 2 things, I would love to see 5 reps really hard, great at what they're going to do rather than 15. So when it comes to workouts, I think there is a way to implement load management with getting good, efficient work in. When it comes to games, I think it differs with different players. I do believe there are some guys in the NBA that really are just taking days off, but then I also look at it and it's an 82 game season, and we're not accounting for all of the travel they got to do, the pregame shoot around in the morning, the pregame workout they have about an hour or 2 before the game. There's just a whole lot to it. So I know it's kind of a vague answer, but I would leave that to individual players. I think it's differing subject. But I will say I do love that they added I think it's a 66 games you have to play to be eligible for the MVP or All NBA.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah. I do love that rule, so I will say that.
It's really only recently we've seen that, right? Where like an MVP is like, oh, you have to play a minimum of 80% of the season. It's like, come on, the MVP plays 80 games most of the time, right? So.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, I kind of bounce off that one. Yeah, it all depends on probably different players, especially with aging players like, we're just going to say like KD, Kyrie, LeBron. They're load management because they've been playing for 20 plus or 15 plus years, right? So it probably differs versus a guy that's just trying to get in the league, and you need to be like a workhorse.
Exactly. And guys like KD, LeBron, I mean, it's not 82 games. I mean, they're playing 95, 100 games. You got all, I mean, they're not getting knocked out of the first round very often. So,
right.
So here's a tough question as a coach, right? Being someone who assessed and the game so well, you have someone comes in who's just a grinder and they're a hard worker, but they have a difficult time with having that feel for the game, right? They're the worker. Then you have the other opposite of it where they have a great feel, but they don't have the work ethic. Which one frustrates you the most in terms of you having to deal with that athlete? Is it more frustrating that this kid who's willing to do everything or this girl is willing to do everything, like, hey, your ceiling's low? Or is it more frustrating when the person is like, man, you're stratospheric, but I don't know why you don't want this? Which one's more frustrating for you?
The person who doesn't want it enough. Yeah. No doubt, the person who doesn't want it enough. Because I try to see every workout every day as a progression. And if someone comes in the gym and they are ready to work, I mean, I can live with mistakes. I can live with mistakes on making reads and drills, making reads and different concepts we're doing. But if someone's just coming in and kind of, not going hard enough, that's the worst. I mean, you can't deal with that. So you can always work with someone who's going to put their best effort forward.
What's your stats? I saw you standing up next to some of the guards in your pictures. What, about 6'6"? Where you at?
About 6'6".
Yep.
So question for you. What is more satisfying, seeing someone get to the NBA or seeing that youth player that's just been working its butt off and, been trying and finally succeed at like maybe doing a left-handed layup? Because I know that was I can't even do one right now, but
I can't. I can't
lay up here. I can't do anything in basketball.
I used
to. That's a great question, and I would honestly say, just like from my earlier years, specifically working with younger players, like you will see, it's incredible. Like, someone that's going to listen at a young age, what you can do in an hour to improve their game is more than an older player can do in like a month as far as progress goes. I mean, they can literally come in the gym, not be able to make a layup, and then by the end of an hour, they're making a layup. So I would say probably the youth player, honestly, because just like the amount of growth you see in a short amount of time. Even I know it's not about a short amount of time, but it's just it's kind of amazing to see.
Do you attribute that to like naive love of the game?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you attribute that to that? That naive love of the game because you haven't really gone through the motions enough, right? And
right.
Like I get super excited with a kid that's so green. I'm like, 1 month, just 1 month. Like, mom, just give me 1 month, okay? Don't judge the practices. Give me 1 month. You're gonna see a whole different swimmer. And that really excites me a lot more because the other one that's so fine-tuned, it's like you're beating your head up with them so much. You're like, sometimes it's so frustrating because it's either they're not willing or they feel like they know too much already. And the other kids are just like wide-eyed, just like, please give me more. Like, they're so hungry for more. So I feel you on that, man. It's super rewarding when you get that green kid to come in and all of a sudden you see that big transformation in a short time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, swimming, that's another example. I mean, that's
progression.
I remember my granddad trying to teach me how to swim, and that's a process in itself. So that's a really good example as well.
So,
for sure. I know Jamie taught me, and I was like a tuna in the water.
And relax.
Once you get over that,
I was beating the water up like the water did something dirty. I'm like, hey,
like
man,
a 290-pound floaty going down the pool.
It down. The water ain't nothing to you, bro.
Sorry, so no, you're fine. Hey, any swimming talk, I'm down for. So you had mentioned how small the margin of like those 4 to 5 tool guys are in the world. Which actually a question I had for you was, in your personal opinion, with all your experience of playing and training and working with different levels, who is the most skilled player in the world right now?
Oh, that's a great question.
Ooh, great question.
Wow. I would say, I'm still going to say Kevin Durant.
Wow.
His efficiency on the offensive end, shooting 40% from 3, 50 from the field, 90 from the line. Like his bad games, he's scoring 30 points and he's shooting 60%. Like I think efficiency plays such a big role into that. He can score at all 3 levels. Man, I know Jokic is probably,
he's the sexy pick, right?
Yeah, that's a tough one to say. I know Jokic is the popular one, and he might be, but I think it's the efficiency on the offensive end that kind of makes me lean towards Durant, like long term. And then obviously LeBron is up there, so like the guys that have all those tools that are the handful, Jokic, LeBron, KD. Those are the kind of guys I'm talking about.
Those guys are the now, right? Like those are the MVPs now. Out of the young guys, do you think Luka is the definite leader of those young guys, or he's the next MVP out of once this crop kind of moves on?
I do. I do think he's going to get a MVP soon. The only thing with him is going to be the defensive end, and if he's going to buy into that, I think that's going to play more of a factor into his team winning the championship than it is him getting an MVP. But as far as like being able to play 40 plus minutes a game and doing it on both ends like the greats do is going to be the only question mark with him. But on the offensive end, that's another guy who can do everything.
Stupid. He's stupid.
It's unreal.
Yeah. So Chris, I was kind of wondering, when we were all growing up, a lot of us played multiple sports. So some of us may have played football or maybe played basketball and track and did multiple sports. From the training aspect, do you think it's more beneficial for kids growing up to have played multiple sports, or to do what a lot of kids now are doing and focusing on one sport in particular, like let's say basketball, and just playing basketball year-round, AAU, just not even going to baseball or track or going to other sports to train?
That's a great question. I think, honestly, I'm all for people playing different sports at a younger age. I played 2 years of baseball, 4 years of football, 2 years of tennis, and I did that until I was like a sophomore in high school. So I think that's really good at a young age because they're kind of able to figure out what they truly love, and then they'll have time to commit to one. Maybe if you're getting up to like your senior year and you're like kind of like iffy about all 2 of them or 3 of them, maybe it was kind of a little late to pick one. But up until like freshman, sophomore year of high school, yeah, I think it's great. I think you can get a lot of things from all of them. So I would lean towards saying explore and see which one you like the most, and just go from there.
Bro, you must have had a monster serve at 6'6" just coming down on the ball. You must have been like, I don't want to play this kid, man.
I know. I was a big John Isner fan from the University of Georgia, but I never quite got that. I wouldn't be doing what I was doing if I had it.
I played a lot in my time when I was an Agassi guy in Sampras, so I was, I'm Grandpa Jay, so my mentors are 20 years ago. These guys were the guys on the tour.
So do the kids come into the gym today saying, "Hey, Coach Chris, teach me how to do that Jokic shot from the back"?
Oh no! Oh man, I'm a big.
Don't watch that.
Yeah, I'm very big on shot selection, so that's not many people have that. So
he does it consistently.
You're not working on it,
and he does that consistently. That's the scary part.
It's unreal. It's next level.
Is that something you have to deal with a lot with younger players? Is having to keep them from trying to mimic like the guys and girls they see on TV?
Yes. It's funny you bring that up. I was in New Jersey doing a clinic Saturday and Sunday, and on the other two courts there were, I want to say it was a 4th grade AAU game. I mean, these kids were small, and I just peek over there, and the first thing I see is a kid coming down on a 2-on-1 fast break, and he pulls up from 3 and air balls. And I'm just like, I'm 26 years old, and even when I was playing AAU, like, this was not as prevalent. Like, everyone wants to shoot the deep 3. Everyone wants to do the next thing. Everyone wants to make the flashy plays, and they're going to figure out one way or another. It's not the right play to make.
Or they won't, and they won't play past 4th grade AAU.
Exactly.
Yeah,
or they'll be playing 18U AAU or something.
There you go.
Well, because prime example, last night Kyle Lowry takes it into the paint and he's going up for a layup and he turns around and throws it away, and he throws it down the court, and then Boston goes on a fast break. That's just a mentality that, young. I can imagine that you probably deal with. It's like, get that out of your brain. He's making $25 million.
Yeah,
right.
He's not supposed to make that play, but he has a little buffer in that aspect.
Right. And also at the NBA level, I mean, analytically, like, the corner 3 is like the best shot you can take.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on the average NBA player, I mean, that's a high percentage shot. So when you see these guys in the NBA passing up a 10-foot pull up for a corner 3, that's a better percentage shot because they'll get more points per possession. But if you don't if you don't have it, you don't have it. You need to stick to your scripts. So
last night, right? The teams combined for almost 80 threes, 77 threes between both teams, right? I think I'm a 90s basketball guy, and that's when I was like really in love with the game. It would have taken 6 games in the series for the teams to get 83 total between the two teams, because you have like an Indiana Knicks series. Reggie's the only person taking more than 4 threes in one given game, right? So I get you where it has to be frustrating that even if you teach them about it, they're going home and they're looking at the people that they really admire, and they're like, but they're doing it, so I want to do it too. And I could see for you, it almost seems like 2 steps back, 1 step forward from them watching the game and then coming back to you and having to have that sort of like, rope sort of tuck, rope and tuck.
Exactly.
Like, you could try it, but don't make it your game, so.
Yeah. And I think it's a fine line too. I mean, we're like, it's frustrating that they're picking up a couple habits by like professional players and stuff like that, but also I don't think enough younger players are watching basketball. So I mean, I will say it is good that they are actually watching the game and kind of getting that into their brain what really good basketball looks like. Because for the most part, yeah, everyone's going to make mistakes at every level, but for the most part, I mean, these are the best players in the world executing at a high level. So, continue. I'd say for kids to continue to watch it, but there's aspects that you don't need to take from it.
I think the biggest thing is making sure, like, I forget who said this. It was some kid in the gym, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and he was just chucking up threes. And he's like, I want to be Steph Curry. And I'm like, well, you don't see the stuff behind the scenes, right? You don't see the 1,000 shots he puts up every single day. You don't see his pregame warm up, those type of things. Is that like what you kind of drill into their head? Is like, he has a repetition that he does every single day. Are you willing to do that? Then you can take those threes. But is that something that you kind of drill into the kids and, younger players and like maybe like going into college players?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, you gotta earn the right to take shots in general, especially at the college level. I mean, they're monitoring every shot you take from every part of the court and what's a good shot, what's a bad shot. And when you get up to the college level, I mean, if you're not proven you can make that shot in practice, like, you're not even going to have a chance to be on the court to shoot it. So I think the preparation point to that is spot on. It takes hours of work, and it's hard work, it's smart work, and it's consistent. It's a everyday thing that you gotta build into to become a great shooter or great at any aspect of the game.
One question I have for you is, what is the kind of, if you could take us through kind of the repertoire of, when going from high school to college, you play more games, right? It's a longer season, more drilling season, travel a lot more in a short amount of time. And then from the college to NBA, it's even longer of a season. So how do you prepare each, I guess, freshman in each league, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell a lot of guys, and both are huge jumps, high school to college and college to the NBA. Like, you can get ready as much as you can, but it's still going to take adjusting. I mean, you're still going to have to get kicked in the mouth and fight through some adversity. I mean, the speed of the game, the attention to detail that they have, defensively, as far as specifically taking plays off, because at the high school level, I mean, these 4 or 5-star recruits, even those guys, like, I know that's a minority of high school to college players, but they're taking 20% of the defensive possessions off, and they'll figure out real quick that what they thought when they thought they were actually conditioned, I mean, they're not. It's a shock to them. So I say all the time, like, if you think you're working hard now, you gotta like almost over exaggerate the physical condition you gotta be in to play at the next level. And that's the first point I would hit on is the physical condition you're in.
Yeah, most definitely, because you're going from like the 1% of 1%, and then even more when you go to the even European league, even European basketball is still really competitive right now, and like I think Trey mentioned this a few weeks ago, is that it would be cool for the NBA to play like an NBA versus world game in the All-Star game instead of just doing East and West or something like they're doing, because now you have a lot more European guys in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you get someone prepared, even though they're like, their dream is to go to the NBA, but they're going to Europe instead? How do you get them mentally prepared for that and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have a lot of worked with a lot of guys that are over in Greece and Israel, and Nate Mason. He's in China. He's in Puerto Rico right now, but he's played the last 2 years in China, and that is a talk about detailed. I mean, those coaches talk about detailed in your physical condition. Once you go over there, like, you have to be ready to go right away. A lot of times, Americans will get a contract, and they'll get that contract, and they'll come mid-season, or they'll come right after training camp already ended. So they got to be ready to play right away. And a lot of people have a really hard time of picking up the offensive concepts and the team first mentality that they play with in Europe. Obviously, a big thing is, again, physical condition. You got to be ready to go right away. And then the other thing is just as much as you can, like, hopefully the hardest thing with, like, working with those guys is you don't have time to prepare. So, I mean, I can't look up. I don't have a 2-month notice of someone getting signed overseas, and I'm not able to look up their offensive concepts and what kind of shots they need to take off of actions, and what kind of ball screen defense they're going to be doing, and all of that stuff. So it's super difficult to really prepare in that aspect as well. So I guess that second part is the kind of way of saying you really can't, as far as, like, the system goes.
Yeah. You
Chris,
hit on a
we got
great
one more question there for you, Chris. You've been in a lot of basketball courts. You've been in a lot of gyms before in your life. Tell us your big starstruck moment where you're like, man, this is actually happening now. Was it while you were playing? Was it doing a clinic? Like, describe that moment for us if it's happened to you.
Starstruck moment of meeting someone?
Yeah, meeting someone, or being in the gym with someone, or someone walking in unexpectedly, or Coach K's camp.
That was I actually didn't get his autograph. I was like 10 feet from him at the camp, and I was like 9 years old. So honestly, now that probably wouldn't be the moment, but that was for sure. Trying to think of another one. Meeting Kyle Korver before a Hawks game was pretty cool, just being a diehard Hawks fan. In 2014.
That's when they were like playoff bound.
Oh yeah, that's when we had it rolling.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool.
He's a pure shooter, man.
Well, Chris, we're gonna play our signature Stump the Squad. Are you ready?
Chris, we got hype for this.
I hope.
All
right, I'm gonna send it over to Grandpa Jay I'm gonna put him on the big screen. He's gonna discuss how it goes.
All right. So, guys, we got Chris on this evening. Couldn't be happy to have him on the show. Chris, thank you for being here. It's time for Stump the Squad. Just to tell you how it works. We actually cheat. You guys don't know we're cheating. We have laptops and phones. We pretend like we don't know everything, but we do. We get it wrong on purpose so you guys feel good about yourself. But here's how it works. We ask each other questions. If you get it right, you get 2 points. If you get it wrong, you get -2 points. Person with the most points in the end of Stump the Squad gets the rant of the week. Chris, our guests always win, so I hope you have a rant prepared. Somehow they always end up beating the squad. So hopefully you got something prepared. And I'm going to start it off with the UNC fan above you right now. See what he has for us today. Mike,
okay. Well, I'll kick it off, of course, in such a basketball-themed episode. I have a bit of a basketball question.
First time ever.
I know. Who of the following did not appear in both the NBA and MLB? Again, who of the following 4 people did not make at least one appearance in their careers in the NBA and MLB?
Oh, wow.
Danny Ainge, Charlie Ward, Dick Groat, or Cotton Nash?
Jesus.
I can repeat as always.
Can you say the second name again?
Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward. Heisman Trophy winner out of Florida State.
Would you like me to repeat the other three?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you repeat? Yeah.
You're good. Danny Ainge, Charlie Ward, Dick Groat, or Cotton Nash?
I mean, Cotton
I'm
Nash.
going Charlie Ward.
I think it's Cotton Nash.
I'm going to go Charlie Ward.
I'm going Charlie Ward.
You said did not, right?
Did not appear in the
Charlie Ward
NBA.
played baseball. He played baseball for Florida State, and he went to the NBA.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Knicks.
Yeah, he played for the Knicks for a while. I'm going to go with Danny Ainge.
Okay, so I've got Trey and John at Charlie Ward, Jamie at Danny Ainge, and I'm sorry, Chris, what did you say?
Cotton Nash.
Cotton Nash. So we got an Ainge, a Nash, and 2 Charlie Wards. I have successfully stumped Chris and Jamie. It was Charlie Ward.
Oh.
Long-time Knicks players.
Ainge, I don't believe, made a regular season appearance, but he did make a lot of spring training appearances.
Oh.
Okay.
Who's next, Mike?
Let's see. I always go with one of the people that get it right, so we'll go with Trey.
Okay, so I'm going to switch it. I know I do a lot of basketball, but in honor, we had a legend pass away recently, so I'm going to do a Stump the Squad in honor of that legend, who would be one of the best running backs of all time in Jim Brown. So, of these, there's going to be 4 facts, but one of these are not actually facts about something that had to do with Jim Brown. What I need you all to do is tell me which one of these is not a true fact about our legend, Jim Brown.
Okay.
So, fact 1, Jim Brown led the league in rushing attempts 5 times. Fact 2, Jim Brown averaged over 100 yards per game for his career. Fact 3, Jim Brown averaged over 5 yards per carry each season of his career. Fact 4, the most seasons leading the league in the rushing is Jim Brown's record, which he held 8 different times. I'll repeat him again. I know it was a lot. So, fact 1. Fact 1. Jim Brown led the league in rushing 5 times. Fact 2. Jim Brown averaged over 100 yards per game in each year of his career. Fact 3. Jim Brown averaged over 5 yards per carry each year of his career. Or fact 4. Jim Brown led the league in rushing the most times in history with 8 times.
What's the first one again?
The first one is Jim Brown led the league in rushing attempts 5 times.
Which one's not a fact?
Which one of those is not a fact?
It's
one of those
B.
are false.
I think it's 2. Yeah, B. Is
Okay,
mine.
so we got Chris with B.
John with B.
That's
John with
absurd.
B.
Okay, so led the league in rushing attempts 5 times. Averaged over 100 yards per game. Averaged over 5 yards per carry. Or holds the record for most seasons leading the league in rushing.
Correct.
I think it's A.
Okay, we have Chris with B, John with B, Mike with A.
And Jamie?
And A was, just one more time, remind me, A was
led the league in rushing attempts 5 times.
rushing attempts 5 times. I think he did that because there wasn't much passing happening. I think he did average 100 yards. I'm going to go with D.
And Jamie's going to go with D.
Yeah.
So, I have successfully stumped everyone except for Mike.
Yes!
Now,
how many
Mike
times?
On the technicality. He actually led the league not 5 times in rushing attempts, 6 times he led the league.
I figured it was the number, not necessarily that
it was the number, not everything else happened. Yes, Jim Brown averaged over 100 yards per game. Yes, Jim Brown averaged over 5 yards per carry, 5.2 yards per carry. And yes, he had the most seasons leading the league in rushing, which happened 8 different times in his career.
Wow.
Amazing
I
career.
knew the 8 one.
I'm calling your question out as invalid because it's also a fact he led 5 times if he also led 6 times. That's also a fact.
Yeah, but the final number was not 5.
It doesn't matter. It's a fact that he did it 5 times too.
All right.
That's a fact.
All right.
Well, I mean, you guys can vote if Mike did or didn't get that right, but
he got that right.
Who's
Next?
Got it 5 times.
That's all of them are facts.
Yes.
Who's next?
Who's next, Trey?
Well, we're gonna go to our genius up there, Jay.
Yes, thank you very much. Bring it my way. Taking it back to the hardwood. I'm gonna make this a lot easier. The Nuggets are trying to become the blank NBA franchise to win an NBA championship in their inaugural appearance in the NBA Finals. So they're trying to become the blank team. Throwing out numbers to mess with your head. Okay, so are they the second team that will do this, the third team that will do this, the fourth team that will do this, or the fifth team that will win the NBA championship in their inaugural appearance in the finals?
4.
Mike goes with 4th.
If I say it with confidence, it'll be right.
Inaugural time in the finals, right?
Yeah, their first appearance.
First time playing in the NBA.
I was about to say because they've been in the league since 1976.
Mm-hmm. But it is their first appearance in the finals.
Yeah, they get the 76 title if they win this one.
I guess
Also.
4.
I think I want to go 4 as well.
What's our options again?
2, trying to become the second, third, fourth, or fifth team to win the finals in their inaugural appearance in the finals.
5.
Fifth team for Trey. Okay, gentlemen, I have successfully stumped Mr. Trey. They will become the 4th team if they win. The first was the Spurs in 99. The second was the Miami Heat in 2006. And the third was the Toronto Raptors, who beat the Golden State Nobody's Left to Play Warriors.
All right, so the scores are Jamie -4, me 2, Chris -2, Mike 4, and Trey 0. So we got still 2 left. Who's next, Trey? Jamie?
You will go next, and we'll have Chris close it.
All right. So, very hard to find questions that I think, like, dang, they're all going to be like, yeah, that's good. So, how many different players led the league in scoring in the 2000s? Now, the 2000s is 2000 to 2010.
What sport?
Basketball.
Okay.
Sorry, I should put NBA. My bad. Was it 4, 8, 7, or 6?
Led the league in scoring.
4, 8,
Yep.
7, or 6. That's the options. 4, 6, 7, or 8.
Yeah, let me get the scores now. Hold on 1 second.
How many different players led the league in scoring in the 2000s? Let's go through the list.
Yes, please, out loud, Jamie, go through the list.
Sure.
Yeah, really. He usually does. Mike, you shouldn't have said anything. He usually does. He's like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. But then it comes to the decision of, is Jamie right?
Right.
Okay. So I got to imagine.
I'm going 4.
Yeah, I think it's 4.
I'll go 6.
Mike says 6. Chris says 4. Jamie?
Shit.
That is not an S.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jamie, that is not one of the options given. You will be deducted 4 points. Thank you.
I'm already at -4, so it doesn't matter. Trey, what you going with?
I went 4.
You went 4. Everybody's gone 4 so far?
I went
So
6.
Mike went 6.
You went 6. I'll go with 7.
Take my favorite number.
Okay, I was like, is that an option?
I was saying that too. I was like,
Well, we know it's wrong because he didn't even think he knows the right answer, so it's not 7.
No, I don't. I had to look back real quick.
Oh.
I was like, what is the right answer? I have successfully stumped Trey, Chris, and Grandpa Jay. It is 6. And you did not win yet. You did not win yet.
Yeah, he has.
No, he has not.
How not?
Because Chris still has to go, and if he loses, me and him could tie. So
You and who could tie?
Me and
Mike.
John can
I
tie.
have
If
two.
he gets it right, and if he gets it right and I get it wrong, we tie it 4.
I got you.
So calm down there, Piper. Chris, get him wrong.
All right.
Our job every week, just so you know, is to make sure Mike never wins. So
yes, I'm the villain. I'm the villain of this story.
Congrats, Mike.
Thank you.
All right.
Has to be one.
This team appeared in the NBA Finals in 2002 and 2003. Is it the Los Angeles Lakers, the San Antonio Spurs, the Detroit Pistons, or the New Jersey Nets?
D.
I'm letting John and Mike go first, since they have more to play for.
Go ahead, Mike, leader of the pack.
I didn't say leader. I said villain. There's a difference. I'm the leader of the opposition, I guess you could say.
You're the leader of the villains.
We had a twirly mustache. Man, I thought I knew the answer, and now I'm double second guessing myself.
I don't know, Mike. I've got everything wrong so far today, and I chose D.
I know. So I guess I'm going to go with what I initially thought because it was in there. I'll say the Lakers.
Yeah, it was the Lakers.
Nets.
It's not the Lakers. It's the Nets.
It's the Nets.
What?
It's the Nets.
It's the Nets.
So we got 2 Lakers and 2 Nets.
Yeah.
It's the Nets, right?
Yeah, I got Jonathan and Mike.
They lost to the
Lakers
Lakers.
in 2000, 2001, 2002,
Lakers,
and then the Nets were
Lakers
2002, 2003.
It's the most random team because the 3 others dominated those 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Who'd they lose to in 03?
The Spurs.
Spurs.
And then
Oh, that was that random.
The Spurs lost to
Lakers.
Detroit the year after.
Yeah.
And then Detroit beat the Lakers the year after, and then it became the Spurs
Why'd I
again.
think-
Then it was
I knew
Celtics,
that was
Lakers,
right. That's why I
Celtics,
didn't want to go
Lakers.
first.
See, I in my head I had the Lakers beating the Pistons in 03 for some reason.
No,
Well,
the
here's the thing,
Lakers.
like,
the Lakers got demolished by the Pistons.
They
in
lost to the Pistons in the
5.
like demolished.
And 5,
Yeah,
yeah. 03, 04, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
They
was
lost
because that was the
Yes.
Kings. That was the Kings Western Conference Final cheating.
Yep.
Okay.
That's and I was looking at that earlier
Well,
too because
that's
one of our topics. I was looking at that
Mhm.
and it said 03 Lakers, but I didn't read the 03. I just looked at it. It said 03, 04. So
Yeah.
that's why I thought
I
Lakers,
hate.
so.
I honestly, as a side note, hate when they do that when they call them like when the season started team as opposed to like when the actual finals were. But
Well, we got our champion here, Mikey Mike. Go ahead for your rant of the week.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
You're gonna lose next week.
For the Taylor Swift reference, now I'm even more of a villain.
Yeah,
Chris, we have a spot open on the show if you want.
Wait, hold on.
And he's the star of the rotation right now.
All right, go. Come on.
Okay,
so whiskey.
all right. A little whiskey sip. So for my rant of the week this week, I'm actually going to take it to a sport that I have never ranted on and don't usually talk about as heavily as some other people, which is golf, and that's because we're coming off of the PGA Championship in my neck of the woods here in Rochester, New York, played at Oak Hill Country Club. And it's not going to be the fact that Brooks Koepka won for a third time, joined a phenomenal list of champions over the years. It's going to be what I think is the better story, which is congratulations to Michael Block, the PGA Club Pro out of Mission Viejo at Arroyo Trabuco Country Club, Golf Club. I do know it. Because top 15 finish, he's automatically in next year's PGA Championship. in Valhalla in Louisville, Kentucky. I think he's going to crush it there too, but he's also being invited to a bunch of different tournaments now, which I think is awesome. He's a phenomenal player. He jumped over 3,000 spots in the world golf rankings just from that one performance, and deservedly so. He played phenomenally. He got to play with Rory McIlroy, which was, I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, go watch the video of him finding out he was paired with Rory. He's like giddy, like he's like a 10-year-old kid that got to find out he got to play with his hero. So it's so cool.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sure, Rant.
So it was really cool, and I'm very happy for him because he seems like a great guy, great golfer, and I wish him nothing but continued success because I'm loving watching his story so far.
The story of the hole-in-one he didn't believe he hit is pretty good.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I was about to say. The fact that he played with his idol, Rory's his idol, and he had a hole-in-one that he had no idea what they were cheering about. He's like, I'm not sure why Rory was hugging me, but I thought, okay, cool.
He's like, wait, why am I getting a hug for landing it 10 feet from the hole?
Well, there's Mike's rant of the week. Thank God we didn't get a Danny Dimes.
Wait, Chris, as a Georgia guy, is the Master something that you're still trying to go to, or something you ever considered you want to be a part of, or anything like that?
Is the what? I'm sorry.
The Masters.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's tough to get in there. I don't even look at the ticket prices, right? I mean, I enjoy golf, but I don't follow it like wholeheartedly. But I would definitely love to make it there one day.
100%. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, it was great having you on. We're definitely going to have you on again here soon.
Thank you, Chris.
And we appreciate you talking with us and playing Stump the Squad. Next time we got to beat Mike. So it was great talking with you, man.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, fellas, it was a great show. We'll see everyone here next week. Make sure you follow us on all our socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. Man, that's getting tough to do. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you follow us on there, and we'll see you guys here next week.
Go Liverpool. One more chance, boys.